It's Monday, 28th of February 2022. In this evening's show, the panel are discussing Saturday's demolition of Paul Ince's Reading at Bloomfield Road, including a virtuoso performance from Blackpool Tally's woman, Gary Nadine. And we'll also be reflecting on Neil Critchley's 2-year anniversary in charge of Blackpool Football Club. And I'm John Aspinall, this is the Seasiders podcast match reaction show. Blackpool 4, Reading 1. Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Seasiders podcast match reaction show. Delayed for Monday. Blackpool 4, Reading 1. Welcome to everyone in the comments. Welcome, David Coleman. David's coming direct from Honolulu this evening.
Are we allowed to swear?
Have you had any vintage cider, Tim?
No. I'm just saying I'm rather jealous about somebody being in Honolulu. No, I've not. I'm actually still on that Elvis no alcohol stuff that you gave me. It's my last one. Look at that. There's proof. Alcohol free.
I'm on the Elvis juice alcoholic version. Well, do you want anything on a Monday?
I am a step down from Tim. I'm on Heineken 0%, which cost me a grand total of 20p a bottle from a stall on Morecambe Market, and I'm still going through it, and it's horrible.
Is that the one you bought by mistake, or did you actually buy it?
No, I didn't buy it by mistake. I bought it because it was £3 for a case of 24, so I couldn't not buy it. But it has proven to be a mistake because it's not the finest ale known to humanity.
Maybe Joe,
what intrigues me, sorry, John, what intrigues me is not that you bought some non-alcoholic lager by the caseload, but what the hell were you doing at Morecambe Market?
Well, I don't actually live far from Morecambe Market, right. And there's no, around here there's not that much to do of a Sunday. So,
Tim, I wouldn't be going around slagging Morecambe off. You do know who lives there, don't you?
Yes.
Who lives in Morecambe?
The Gypsy King, the heavyweight champion of the world.
All right, okay. I'll take it all back.
I've spent
a full retraction will be posted on AVFTT.
I've spent several Sundays in a pub with Mr. Fury.
Again.
Not as a personal friend, but in the same pub as him.
Oh.
Yeah, he's always in the Morecambe Hotel in Morecambe. If you go on a Sunday, sort of Sunday dinner time, there's quite often a load of Range Rovers just parked haphazardly on the double yellow lines outside, and that's Tyson and his clan.
Go there. I was going to say, Tim, not another one.
Yeah, no, exactly. I've got
Joe's
for it.
Yes, you have. Joe's also with us this evening on his poor mic because we've got to get another XLR cable. So welcome, Joe. All this non-alcoholic lager chat. Does that infuse you to join the non-alcoholic drinkers for no you're a teetotaler?
No, not really. It's just
kind of pointless, isn't it, drinking non-alcoholic lager?
Being in charge of a wheelchair all the time and drinking alcohol led to a few mishaps, shall we say. But moving swiftly on. It's all well and good being watching from Honolulu. I'm in Rotherham, where the train station also doubles up as a canal. End of Storm Eunice, bloody hell, you needed a gondola to get down the train tracks, not a train. I was actually worrying I was getting to the game on a Saturday because by Wednesday there's still no trains running.
It does remind me a little bit of Venice, does Rotherham. It's a lot of similarities.
Twinned, yeah. I believe they both don't have a cinema as of yet.
It's still not got your cinema.
It's getting built. It's coming.
Keep promising this, Joe. Do the residents of the two cities twinned? So is it like punishment for the residents of the said Italian city get sent to Rotherham if they perform any misdeeds like thievery or they get arrested for anything? They get sent to Rotherham.
I don't know, but I'm sure that Rotherham resembled more that Kevin Costner absolute bomb of a film, Waterworld, at the beginning of last week.
You're trying to suggest it's like an Italian Devil's Island, is it, Rotherham? It's like where they send all the convicts like Papio.
Well,
We'll be playing them
it's
next
a
season,
whole-
won't we? Well, I say,
Yeah,
Joe,
it's very much looking like that. I think they're about 7 or 8 points clear of third place, although some teams have got game in hands. But one of them's Sunderland, and they always muck it up, don't they? I've got to watch my language these days because my mum watches, so there'll be less foul mouth rants. She gave me a telling off for mentioning the Pornhub Josh Bowler thing the other weekend, which she saw. So yeah, got to be on my best behaviour these days now that my mum's watching.
Get your mouth washed out back with soap. That's what my mother always used to say if I swore.
There'll be no C-bombs. I won't be doing a nappers.
I've just found a brilliant headline. I just looked up to see where Rotherham really was twinned with, and the first Google search is San Quentin unhappy at being twinned with Rotherham. It's a French town who were really pissed off that they've been twinned with Rotherham.
I bet Barry and Paul Chuckle weren't very happy with that.
Wow.
Joe, on Saturday, I was with a bunch of people I didn't know on the hospitality tables, and they actually said to me, "Where's Joe? He's not been on for a while, has he?" I'll hasten to add, everyone at the table knew who I was.
Well, what can you say? Obviously, it's these dashing good looks and dulcet tones that obviously do it for people. I don't know. I've had people.
Yeah, you were missed.
I've had people coming up to me saying, "Well, why have you not been on? Why have you not been on?" And simple answer is, with my mum watching these days and the referees we're getting recently, it's probably for the best to stay in my mother's good books. I need somewhere to stay when I come back to Blackpool for home games. So, yeah,
we could get a bleepometer.
Well, yeah, I don't want her to. She brought me up better than to swear often. So, obviously, it just all happens when I'm at the games now, as people in front of me will have known. What's my thoughts on Paul Ince? He's currently the manager of Reading Football Club.
You didn't join that chant then, did you not, on Saturday, Joe? Did you?
I chuckled away and nodded my head.
And just you just silently mouth the words rather than shout them out.
Well, I've got to be careful because I go with my dad and my uncle to games as well. So obviously they're a bit more used to the industrial language. But no, there was quite an outburst from me on Saturday regarding the referees who we seem to get them every single week. It's quite incredible. But no, the fact that I'm still moaning about the referees despite us winning 4-1 just shows you how absolutely dreadful they are.
I got a few funny looks from up on the balcony for some of my slightly industrial language. As Gemma's just said, Gemma sits in front of me. Yes, it was behind me was very quiet, John, because I wasn't in my usual seat. Don't worry, Gemma, normal service will be resumed at the next home game. Anyway, let's get on with the show, shall we? Blackpool 4 goals. Reading 1. This was the team. 1. There we go. Grimshaw, Gabriel, Akpateta, Thornley, Sterling, Stewart, Dougal, Bowler, Hamilton, Yates, Medine. Now, Tim, we didn't do a preview show, but I put out my team for this 4-4-2, and generally the vast majority of people agreed with it. It was actually this, but without picking Yates. I think I had Lavery in there. So back to 4-4-2, back to the tried and trusted. So we're pretty happy with that when that dropped.
Yeah, I think it was one of the few games that I can recall where Critch doesn't throw a googly in there. It was pretty much, when you look at it, the strongest team he could put out. You've got that argument over Lavery and Yates, I think, but other than that, I think for once, most of us would have picked that team, which is to be compared and contrasted, perhaps like with QPR and the last couple of games where there's always been somebody thrown in there who we weren't, if not one, if not two, if not three people thrown in there who we weren't expecting. It's great to see Marv back. He always look a lot better when he's in there. And I do like this combination of Dujon at left and Gabriel on the right. So I've got to say, I was extremely pleased with that side.
Mitch, back to 4-4-2. Our preferred formation, obviously, us football dinosaurs, but got the job done, didn't it? Yet again.
Certainly did. I mean, I think Tim's kind of summed it up. It was the first time in ages where you felt like, well, he just picked the 11 best players and put them, well, maybe not first time in ages, but first time for a couple of games, 11 best players, put them on the pitch in their positions that they're best in, and job's a good one, really. I think I tweeted lovely stuff when I saw the team. And then I thought, well, that probably means we're going to get hammered.
Joe, anything to add on that formation when you saw it? No, Callum Connolly, a bit harsh on Connolly to get dropped.
A little bit.
The reasonable form that he's in.
Probably what Matt said. I think current personnel, injuries permitting, I think that's our strongest team at the minute. Obviously, you can flip a coin if you want Lavery in there for Yates. But for me, yeah, pretty much our strongest lineup.
Tim, were you in corporate? Or were you
I've become a corporate whore recently. I've just seen you up there all the time.
I didn't see you. Where were you?
I was in a box.
In a box?
We had the firm had a box for Bournemouth, and then only last minute. To be fair, I wasn't planned. Just somebody just rang me up and said, "You fancy coming up?" And it was like the same deal with 11. So we were right at the far end. So we were quite near the south end. It's like the last but one box. So it was good. Enjoyed it.
Could you? Was Mitch in prawn sandwich chucking distance?
I didn't see him. I didn't. I heard Medine. It's Medine, but I looked around, but all I could see was a sea of tangerines. So and no Mitch to be spotted. Just heard.
Just before I forget, I did say I'd give a shout out to two people who were sat with at my table, David Smith, and he was there with his family from Wigan. It was great. I hear this story a lot. He was with his family, an elder gentleman. So welcome, David. It was a great to speak to you. Had some great stories. He's with his family. I think his son, daughter, and husband. And they were all from Wigan. They were quite broad, like Wigan accents. So I said, "Well, why are you Blackpool fans?" And he said, "Oh, we some convoluted story that I think one of them went to a game and then they got hooked, but they're from Wigan. They got really broad Wigan accents." And he said, "Oh yeah, we hate Wigan. We all love Blackpool." And it's something you hear a lot, isn't it? Like, not people aren't from Blackpool, but by hook or by crook, or
I mean, you've got to bear in mind, of course, Wigan only came in the league. Was it like 1978? So perhaps depending on when that link goes back to, there may well have been no professional team in Wigan. So that might have something to do with it. And if you've got a choice between the Nobbers and us, and you're in that vicinity, there's only one choice, really, isn't there?
There's no contest. So I was with David and I was actually trying to explain to him what a podcast was. Downloaded Google Podcasts on his phone, went over to YouTube and I pressed subscribe. So I forced subscribed him on YouTube. So guys, you know what to do. Find some elderly gentlemen and...
it's like handing out free tickets at a school, isn't it? And then counting them whether they turn up or not, that is.
You basically cyber assaulted him.
Also, the name Josh Melling rings a bell, doesn't it? Josh comments on here quite a lot. Comes out, well, it speaks a lot of sense. And I was sat to his uncle, second removed or something. He's called Byron Melling. I don't know. That's a very Tim-esque name, that Byron. I bet you wish called Byron.
It should be like a romantic poet, shouldn't he? You know, with a name like that. It should be picking daffodils in Grasmere or something.
Also, Tim, I think he was a bit older than you, but that wasn't his real name. He was actually christened John. And he said, I've always been called Byron. I said, well, you should have stuck with John, obviously. And I said, what is it with you of your generation? Not using the names you were given. Isn't that right, Andrew?
It's true. It's absolutely stupid. And I've spent my whole life explaining when I go to the bank, go to the doctors. I don't go by that name. I go by my middle name. Mental.
Did you two know that Tim isn't Tim? He's a fraud.
Well, I didn't know that, but my granddad, until my granddad died, I thought his name was Joe. It turned out his name was Thomas. but his name was only Joe. Everybody called him Joe because he had a mustache in about 1950 that made him look like Joseph Stalin. So for the rest of my life, or rest of his life, he was known as Joe. And as I say, when I went to his funeral and they started talking about Thomas, I was thinking, what? I'm at the wrong funeral. And then I realised that actually he wasn't called Joe or Joseph or anything on any document. So there you go. You're not
there's certain synergies there, isn't there, with you being called Mitch and
absolutely.
The rest of your life now got nothing to do with your name.
There we go. Carrying on a tradition.
Oh, dear. So, yeah, welcome, Byron, if you are listening for the first time. Let's go into the game then. So, how do you think we started, Joe? Obviously, you are called Joe, aren't you?
Well, he had a mustache.
Joe's probably the nicest thing I've been called recently by many people. I thought we started off okay up until they scored. I thought that we were pretty much on the front foot. Oh, yeah, I can't speak tonight. Don't know what's up with me. On at the front foot, much better than Wednesday night against QPR, where I thought we paid them far too much respect and far too negative. But you're the home team, so you're expected to do that really at home and go out and attack. Yeah, I thought we looked bright and we were well in control. And then Jordan Gabriel's made a really, really good tackle. And I think the crowd chanting kind of like got in his head, yeah, I've just made a great tackle. Oh, I'm out of position. Oh, they've just crossed. Oh, it's 1-0. I mean, I thought he had an all right game apart from that. But yeah, a little bit of a brain fart from Jordan there. But it happens, doesn't it?
Tim, your views of the Reading opening goal. Lucas Jao slots in from the edge of the box from 6 yards out. It's a very Blackpool goal to concede. Soft.
Yeah, and probably against the run of play, and I didn't really feel that. I didn't really feel like I was too concerned at that stage, because I thought if anything it might make us pull the old football socks up and get a bit more focused, and I think we probably did as a result. I think my abiding memory of the first sort of 15 minutes or so was just thinking, why is the pitch the quagmire that it is? Why are we chucking 10 ton of water on it just before kickoff? I don't understand it, because it's cutting up big style, and it was worse against Bournemouth, but they were flooding it, and I can't actually understand it, because it must have been pretty soft beforehand. And we do try and play football, so I wondered against Bournemouth whether we'd done it deliberately to try and stop them playing their passing game, but we did it again this week, and I don't know whether the groundsmen are over enthusiastic, or whether it's a deliberate policy. I can only think it's a deliberate policy, because you wouldn't think, with all the attention to detail, you wouldn't think that Critchley would let them flood a pitch unless he wanted it flooded. But I don't know what everybody else thinks. But to me, it just seems to cut up and stop us. People are slipping, and
you could literally see standing water on it in that south west.
Yeah, that's why I really noticed it down that corner, because we were right above there, and I was, and I noticed it more than I do when I'm in the north.
Well, we had decent weather for Thursday, Friday. It wasn't raining heavily, was it, for at least a couple of days? So. Who knows? Who cares? We won 4-1.
How bad did you have the storms down there? Because 3 storms in the space of a week's not going to do it a lot of good, is it?
Well, yeah, it's not going to help. Yeah, like you say. But yeah, no worries. We were back on terms within 15 minutes. Big Marv, Mitch. How can you describe this goal? It was a bit of just chaos in the box, wasn't it? And
keeper bottled it. Simple as that.
It was weird, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a weird one. I can't remember if it was a corner or a cross, and it ended up with sort of Gaz at the far post. He shifted it to Jerry. He knocked it out to somebody. Somebody had a shot. It ballooned about 30 foot up in the air. It dropped to Stewart, and it was a very canny little header from Stewart. He just sort of cushioned a header through to to Equiteta as their defence were rushing out. Stewart kind of headed it back in, caught them all off guards, and then I don't know whether the keeper bottled it or stayed on his line or whatever, but then Marvin just seemed to head it in. It was kind of like a playground goal, if that makes sense. It was kind of like a goal a bunch of kids would score, and it was funny because I thought we'd played really well. First half, and it was sort of quite, because of the quality that we'd played with, it was quite a calamity. It was quite a bad goal to score, if a goal can be bad, in the end. But I think it was an important goal because I could see us starting to get frustrated. I can't remember if it was before or after we'd had a sort of a couple of stops. Jerry had that shot, hadn't he, that had been stopped, and we'd had one whistle just past the post and stuff. And it just kind of made it feel like it might be our day.
Yeah, I think Medine had a header as well, didn't he, from memory?
Yeah, he had a great header from a CJ cross. I think that might have been. I can't remember if it's before or after, but it was a superb header. That was a really, really good save from that. It was a lovely ball as well from CJ, actually, off the left.
So yeah, we played pretty well in the first half. I think going in, Tim, at half time, 1-1 was a fair reflection of the play.
I think so. Yeah, I think, and I think I sort of had an expectation that we were going to come out and play and play and score in the second half. I'm normally quite pessimistic, but I actually felt quite confident based on the performance in the first half that we could expect to go up a notch or two, and probably Reading were playing as well as they could, and we had somewhere else to go. So I was as I had my sweet at half time because they were late again. I sat down. I was reasonably content with the way we played.
My sweet wasn't late, Tim. Nice little chocolate ensemble. I ordered cod loin for my meal, and apparently that's classed as a special dietary requirement, and you have to order it give them 72 hours notice. I was like, what? So I had to have chicken instead, but the chicken was very moist, so it wasn't too bad. The trials of life, eh? The trials of life in Tim's world.
First world problems.
I had a nice sausage roll from across the Bloomfield pub.
Oh, the Cottage Bakery, Joe, called the Cottage Bakery. I've learned its name.
All the bakeries are available.
Steak and haggis pies. Viewers, listeners, if you're ever in the vicinity, go get one. You won't be disappointed. Right on to the second half then. Joe, were you worried when Tom Ince had a foray into the box and was bundled over? I was praying that he didn't take the free kick, but it was taken by Swift and it was just tipped over by Grimshaw. Great save, great shot.
Yeah, I think you got to give him credit because in reality, he didn't really have much to do. They scored a goal, and literally that free kick was all I really remember him doing. I think it was quite a quiet afternoon for Grimshaw, to be honest. But they've got a lot of quality up top, Reading. It's at the back where they're very questionable. I think they were missing quite a few defenders through injury. So I don't know if they're that bad every week. Obviously, Preston only managed to score 2 against them, so who knows? But yeah, I thought Grimshaw, excellent save. Swift's a very good player. And literally the only thing really that he had to do all game. But he had the awareness to do it well.
Speaking of Preston, 98th minute equaliser. What a shame, eh?
That was the cherry on the cake, I think.
It was, Tim. If your dessert was very late, it could have been the cherry on your dessert cake.
Tears absolutely rolling down my inner leg.
Fair shake from Doug Claxton. CJ's crossing has been superb of late. Joe, you're agreeing, Mitch. He has, hasn't he?
He has.
He's been a revelation almost since he came out, since we started slagging him off.
Well, that's the one thing that's been missing from his game, isn't it?
He's been playing on the right though most of his career for us. I mean, he's been inverting, and he's not. you have to be really skillful to play as an inverted wing. You have to be really technically good to play as an inverted winger. And I think CJ is just simpler for him. He just plays as a winger, gets into space, whips it across, easy.
It's not just the whips with CJ. I've noticed it's the little cutbacks that he's doing. Cutbacks and rolls across the 6-yard box. They're a nightmare to defend, aren't they? When they're played right, and he's been picking out passes, but the goal itself came on 61 minutes. Mitch, you're the only the man to talk about this. Big Gaz again.
Well, I was at the other end, but it was I think it was Doogs on the corner, wasn't it? And he'd taken one first off that was just awful. I mean, I'm not normally one for slagging players off at the ground, but even I got it, for fuck's sake, Doogs, what was that out of, after one of his corners? He was awful. And so I wasn't that optimistic when I saw Dougal go and taking the corner, floated in. And when you watch it back, I hadn't noticed this actually at the game. When you watch it back, he comes from in the back of the net. I mean, he's taking his evasive action to new levels, isn't he? He actually comes from within the goal, runs out to sort of about 9 yards, then runs back into on the 6-yard box. And somebody who was briefing against Gary might say that he took a ride on the defender's shoulders, but I'm going to say he used his height advantage over the player very well to nod a forceful header home.
One strange thing. So Tim, you just next. No one appealed, did they? None of the Reading players appealed. No, the goalie appealed. They just kind of gave up and accepted the brilliance of the contorting Gary Medine.
I thought it was on a game of leapfrog.
Yeah. I mean, I saw that. I mean, I thought, oh, he's going to blow for this from the south stand, and he didn't. So
it was incredible. I mean, if we'd been going mental if opposition scored a goal like that. But I mean, whether it's, I don't know, not for one of them to appeal, and every time I've looked at it, I thought it's a foul every day of the week.
Do you think their defence was scared of appealing against Big Gaz? Maybe he's had words with them.
Yeah.
Malchus Mackay, a man after your own heart there, Mitch. Medine is arguably our key player. I
just take the argument.
Yeah, scrub that out. Steve Hutchins, CJ and Stewart have been like 2 new signings. They have.
Yeah, Stewart was superb yesterday again. I really was.
I missed him out of my man of the match shortlist, Stewart, and I got pelters for it.
You're not very good at it. I think you need to consult with the rest of us before you put these lists together. Who was it? You missed Dougal out the other week, didn't you?
I did, yeah. Here we go. Here's Kelly. She was having a go at me straight away. So I went on to FOTMob and put her out with the statistical side of the game to try and get myself out of jail. It wasn't the highest within there, so I sent that to Kelly. But he did have an absolutely fantastic game. So Joe, 2-1. Expected more from Reading to kind of come at us, but they were kind of a bit toothless and looked like a team that were on a real downward spiral, but they're not. They've won quite a few games recently, haven't they?
Yeah, but now they look like a team that's being coached day in, day out by Paul Ince. So that winning mentality will certainly be drained, sucked out of their life force. And I'm very fearful for them. They're lucky that the bottom 3 are kind of cut adrift a little bit. I think it's about an 8-point gap between them and the relegation zone. Or else I'd be very, very worried. In fact, I've looked at some of the fixtures, and I think Reading have still got to play Derby and Barnsley. So they could be very, very key games in the relegation fight. But yeah, I just don't understand, especially after that big win against Preston, sacking the manager. Always confuses me when it's obvious that the decision's already been made, but why have him take charge of that game anyway? It's just very strange, a manager always getting sacked after a victory. But yeah, to answer your question, I think at 2-1, their heads just went. the confidence had gone from them. I felt a little bit sorry for their attackers because defensively, especially when you look at the final 2 goals, they're a little bit all at sea. They didn't look very clever to me. Again, I know that they had a few out with injuries, but I don't know how they're going to stay up if that's going to be their defence for the rest of the season, because it was as easy a victory in the end as you're going to get. And we didn't even play that well, if I'm being honest. I think we played much better against Bournemouth and got nothing. That's football, though, isn't it?
Mm. Absolutely, Joe. Tim, we made a substitution on 83 minutes. Shane Lavery coming on for Jerry Yates. Instant impact. 3 minutes later, the ball's in the back of the net.
Yeah, I feel a bit sorry for Jerry because I bet Jerry must have been thinking, why didn't I get set up like that? Because he needs a goal. You know, I want him to get a goal so badly.
There was still a bit to do, though, wasn't there, from Lavery? I wouldn't say he was just slotted in. There was still
he showed a positivity, didn't he, in the way he attacked the defence. But I think Joe was sort of alluding to it with his comments before. That I think I can't remember, there was 2 or 3 defenders, and they almost, it was like the parting of the Red Sea, wasn't it? The way, come on, Shane, come on through and have a shot. It was bizarre. I think whether there'd been miscommunication and one thought the other was going to close and they both thought the same thing, I don't know. But either way, it looked shocking.
It was a good through ball from Dougal, to be fair, though.
It was, but equally they were still goal side of him, and he takes it to the right, doesn't he? And nobody goes with him really, and then he takes a shot off and finishes with aplomb. And what a great introduction! It was fantastic.
Always better when it's in front of the north as well, when it hits the back of the net. That adds to the occasion. Yeah,
and I thought. Particularly as that second half went on, it got quite raucous. It was a bit quiet in the first half, I thought, the atmosphere, but in the second half, it went up a notch, and I think it always does when you're attacking that end. So I just think it's, but equally, again, when you are in the west and the southwest corner, that atmosphere is spinning around the ground very, very well these days. I think it's a credit to everybody that when the chants come up, it's not just the north. It's they might sort of generally act as the conductor, but there's a whole orchestra of Blackpool fans all the way around the ground. Got everybody getting behind the team, and it's great.
I did speak to Tony Green, actually, Tim, up in hospitality. Had a quick chat with him, and I remember you saying that he said it was unbelievable, the atmosphere coming out of the north, and he did mention we'd been to a Newcastle game recently, and he said the atmosphere is as good as at Newcastle, if not better, even though they've got 50,000 odd at the game. So yeah, he was very complimentary of it.
It's great. It is great. I mean, I don't think there's no ground in the country you go to where the atmosphere is as good as it is at our ground, unless we happen to be there, of course, and then we make up the atmosphere for them. Even in the youth game the other night, I know there wasn't many there, but it was Blackpool fans singing all the way through. It was quality.
Sat next to John Murphy as well, up in the balcony. Had a quick chat with him.
Big Murphs. He has teams playing good football, doesn't he? He really does. He obviously instills a very positive mindset in them.
Okay, and to see the game out, Mitch, the main man, Mr. Good on the balance sheet, Josh Bowler. What a strike!
Yeah, it was a superb finish, and I think it was. How can I put this? It's almost testament to how good he is that I thought, Bowler's lashed it in on the volley from 20 yards. Hooray, that's 4-1. And then kind of went home. It's kind of just become almost devalued how good he is. And I think that's a sign of what a talent he is. And also, I think there was, just to go right back to the first half for a second, there was one moment in the first half where he got a shot and goal and he lashed it way over into the south stand. And it felt really out of character for him. And yet that's this bowler that just seems to not be able to stop scoring and makes all the right decisions is only about 6 or 7 weeks old, isn't he? Sort of the bowler that played up until probably, would it be the Huddersfield game where he came back into the side, was lashing him into the stand all the time and was making all the wrong decisions. We're getting really frustrated with him. but just nothing he does now seems to go wrong. And it was a beautiful, beautiful finish, because I think CJ's ball was a little bit behind where CJ meant to put it, but you see him just kind of check his run and rock back and lean and take this ball. I'm not sure it was a volley or a half volley, but either way,
it was a side foot volley.
It was absolutely superb technique, and it was just right into the corner as well. I mean, the keeper had absolutely no chance with it. And again, let's keep him for next season. That's what I say.
We're worth 10 million then.
Yeah.
Preaching to the converted here, Mitch. Joe, right, from your viewpoint, obviously you're in the north, so it must have been a fantastic piece of action to see that live. And for me, with that chance when it was kind of being floated into bowler, I was expecting him to score, as ridiculous as it sounds. And what other player that we've seen over recent years would you expect to sort of finish that chance? A very difficult chance as well, and he just made it look easy, didn't he?
Yeah, took it very well. Yeah, 35 million and rising now by my calculations. So, I mean, look, if we're being realistic, if he doesn't sign a new contract in the summer, he's got a year option left. What do you do? Do you try and cash in, or do you keep him, knowing he could go on a free? But we could improve the squad in the summer. He could be that talisman, and without
I think you're hitting the nail on the head there, Joe. If he signs the contract extension, we keep him and then try to grow his value, and then if a big offer comes in, then we sell him. But yeah,
no, that's not what I was getting at. No? I was getting at, do you risk him not signing a contract and not selling him to have a crack at getting in the playoffs next season?
Okay.
And letting him walk for nothing.
That is a roll of the dice.
Is it though? Dice. Because we signed him for nothing. It's not like we're losing anything.
Try telling Simon Sadler that.
Yeah, I'm sure on the spreadsheet. Yeah,
4.8 million.
But
yeah.
It's just a theory. I mean, I want him to stay. I know that it's good business if we sell him for 5+ million. But I'm not bothered about spreadsheets. So what I see is do well on the pitch, and he's a key cog in that
you'd like
machine,
to think that. Yeah, you'd like to think that the boys in charge are savvy enough to offer him a new contract and say, "Look, we will let you go. We'll put a release contract
go in January.
Yeah,
see where we are in January. Because if it's anything like this division next season, I know it's kind of a bit of an arrogant thing for a supporter of a team that were mid-table in League One this time last season. This division's shite. It's nowhere near where it was last season. No. This championship, with a little bit more bravery in some of our away games, and anything like half decent officials, we'd be well in with a chance of getting into the playoffs. Sadly, I think that ship's sailing, but there's no reason next season if we can't just add a few bits and pieces to the squad, because we've already got a very good nucleus now. Plus, they'll be a year older, a year wiser. We've got a pretty young squad. I think on average, it's 25 and a half, with the exception of Medine and Keogh. I think they're all under 30. So there's no reason next season, if we bring in some quality, especially, say, central midfield, perhaps, that we couldn't have a charge at the playoffs.
Let's just pray Oxford don't go up and we can go back in for Brannigan. Right, let's move on to the player ratings. Where's that banner? We will be talking about the accounts later, just very briefly. So let's start with player ratings. Joe, let's start with you, with Grimmy.
8. Could do very little about the goal. Made a very good save from the free kick. Other than that, didn't really have to do much.
Jordan Gabriel, Tim.
Bar that one mistake, that's a little faux pas of Jordan's. I thought he had another solid game. I was really, really glad to see him hold down his place, and he needs to. For me, he should. You don't need to rest lads when they're his age. He should be playing most weeks, and I think we look so much more balanced with him and Dujon on the other side. So it's an 8+ for me. I thought he had a good game.
Dujon on the other side, Mitch.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Dujon did anything wrong, and he's just a player that you don't really notice, is he? He's just, we've said this over and over again, he just defends, and I don't remember him doing anything wrong, so I will go with an 8 for Dujon as well.
Into the middle, Jordan, Thornley, quality again, muted.
I knew I'd do that at some point. I'd say, yeah, 8 again. I think both centre-backs dealt with very decent attacking options from Reading very well. Yeah, I'll go with an 8.
Big Marv, Tim, on the score sheet again.
Yeah, he's pulling out a few, isn't he? Quietly on the side is Marv, and I think he's really. I was going to say blossom, though. It's probably not the right word, really. He's grown as a player for me this season, immeasurably. Hey, obviously it's a big step up in standard. He's never played at this level before. But I think the responsibility of captain, I think we've spoken about this, haven't we, on previous pods. The responsibility of captain is something that he's taken to, and it's helped develop his own game, I think. I think playing with Keogh's massively helped him, and I think he's a fantastic player. Again, he's almost, along with Bowler, he's the jewel in the crown of our side at the moment. Obviously with Keshi being out, they probably added him in as well. Love him to bits. 8+.
Kev Stewart, Mitch, pulling the strings, just the sort of player that we need in there at this time.
Out of curiosity. Out of curiosity, the other day I looked up to see Kev Stewart's fitness record, and he's never played more than, I think it's 22 games in a season, which is really sad because what a player. I mean, we don't need Cameron Brannigan if we've got Kevin Stewart, because he is absolute quality. Just everything about him, his touch, his vision. I really like the way he often runs about with the ball in a way that makes you think, oh, he's going to lose it, he's going to get tackled, and he never does. He's just so tenacious in possession. He's so good at shielding the ball and using his body against other players. And he just has a way of doing what, I mean, it's slightly unfair to say this about Dougal, given that he set up 2 goals, but Dougal rarely passes a ball where I haven't seen the pass first. And Stewart does it quite often. He'll just change the direction of the play. It's often quite short the way he does it. He'll just change the direction of the play. He'll take it in, he'll pivot, and he'll just play it out to somebody that I hadn't seen that was in space. And I think he just takes it to the next level. I don't think it's a coincidence that we've won 4-1 in a game where Stewart started that game. So in a long-winded way, I'm going to say 9 for Stewart.
Best performance of the season thus far for Kev, Kenny Dougal, Joe. Great.
I thought he had a pretty good game, 2 assists. Can't say fairer than that. I agree with what Mitch says. Whereas you probably know you can spot the pass if you sit high enough in the stand. 1 iffy corner. Apart from that, I thought he had a really good game.
He did have a really weird spell in the first half where he just couldn't pass it for 10 minutes, where he was just really awful for about 10 minutes, and then he was good again.
I agree with you, but I also think that the pitch, and I don't want to be one of these people that go, oh, it's the pitch's fault. But I noticed that the ball was getting stuck under a lot of players' feet, especially in certain areas where, as Tim said, that the pitch had been overwatered somewhat. And yeah, I don't like slagging the club off these days as much as I...
Joe, the groundsman's bound to watch the pod. Everybody else does. We've slagged Bowler off. He's improved massively. We've slagged CJ off. He's improved massively. We've slagged Kevin Stewart off, and he's going to be like the best player of the season.
We did slag him off.
Let's just have a go at the groundsman, and he'll stop watering the pitch. Stop flooding it.
I don't think you can really have a go at it can't control the weather, can it? We've had really bad weather.
You can control a tap.
Well, we established the other week he's got the Oyster timing system.
I was going to say, maybe it's on a timer.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dougal, 8.5.
Apologies if I keep coughing, listeners. I've developed a continuous dry cough, but none of that matters anymore. I can go out and do what I want. Where were we? Kenny Dougal, Josh Bowler. Tim, we up to you, Josh Bowler?
Yeah, I think actually, I disagree slightly about his effectiveness in the first half. I thought we saw some glimpses of pre-Christmas Josh, who kept running into blind alleys for a bit of the game. I mean, he's still great to watch, but I thought his decision making lacked a little bit of what we've seen in recent weeks. But in the second half, he improved again, and he went at them, and he was very tenacious. And the goal is just sublime. The goal gets him an extra mark for me, so it's a 9.
CJ Mitch, another great game from Chris.
Yeah, CJ he did have a good game, and he was probably up against what I thought was Reading's best player. I thought their right back did a really good job on him, actually. And again, one of CJ's best qualities is that he just keeps going. That he didn't have a lot of joy first half, apart from that beautiful cross he put for Medine in. And second half, he had a little bit more joy, but he just keeps going. He keeps showing for it. He keeps making the run. And I think he obviously set up Bowler late on. And there was another one that he put in. It was a beautiful ball, which Bowler would have buried, but Yates sort of did one of his clever little touches, but he cleverly took it off Bowler's foot. So he could have ended up with 3 assists from that game. I thought he played well. And I thought he played well against a good player, I thought, in their fullback. So I am going to give him an 8+.
Jazza, Joe. Just nothing's coming up now. Coming right from at the moment.
No, but as usual, worked tirelessly. Could have had a penalty in the second half. Nice bit of skill and kind of ran into one of their players. It's kind of the decision we usually get against us, where it's not a penalty, but there's contact, and then the referee, because it's against Blackpool, it's a penalty. But no, Jerry's unfortunately in tangerine, so the referee didn't give it. But and like you say, he's working hard, and then the second he goes off, there's that wonderful through pass to Lavery. So his luck really isn't in, but if he keeps working hard, he'll get his rewards in the end. I'm going to give him a 7.
And to round this off, Tim, the man that you weren't that bothered about keeping in the summer, you were quite happy to put him in the bin. Much to my, in fact, I was the only one who was sticking up for him. Maybe Mitch was as well, obviously. But the rest of you wanted him in the bin. Gary Medine.
Yeah, I thought he had. To be honest, Stoichkov was just saying that you slag Bowler off. He might have missed me. I did start with Bowler when I was running down my litany of players. We've had
we really went to town on Stuart, didn't we? In fact, we were angry. Quite a few of us were angry
when he went to Jamaica for
that was the.
He's a bit of winter train, a bit of winter sun. Comes back, he's ready for the fight. Classic management. So I thought Medine was effective. I don't know whether I thought it was. I don't. Do I think that? I didn't. I thought he was good. He led the line well. I think the man of the match lies elsewhere on Saturday, to be honest. But a very, very effective performance. I'm going to go 8+.
Man of the match.
You thought it was a bit harsh, that, do you?
I thought he had a good game. I've seen Medine play better. I think he played better.
An 8+ is a good score. If we're Richard, he's good 10+, 10s, 11s. But
then I feel like I've seen Marv play better as well. But anyway, we can renew this debate at man of the match time.
Man of the match, then. Let's start with you, Mitch. Penny for your thought.
Now I feel like I have to say Big Gaz, but I'm going to go for Gaz. And it's a fag paper between him, Kevin, Marv.
Joe.
I'm going to go Marvin at Patata, not only for the goal, but for keeping quite a lively Reading attack quiet along with Thornley. So yeah, Marvin Epiteta for me, but I can understand the shouts for Gary as well.
So Tim, just before you do yours, I'll just bring the Twitter poll up that I did. Went out to the masses. Say the masses, 213 people.
That's quite a good response, though, isn't it?
No, it was actually, yeah. Right, share my screen, John. Well, anyway, it was Medine 75%, Bowler 6%, Dougal 13%, Hamilton 4.7%.
But you didn't put the right one on, did you?
And everyone said, "Well, where's Kevin Stewart?" So who do you think managed the match?
I was on Stewart. I just think he lifted the whole team with his passing range, and he was very tenacious. I thought on Saturday as well. He was if he lost the ball or he I remember the one bit I think he'd given the ball away and he just basically hunted the man down until he got the ball back, and it was great to see because Critch was a bit worried that he had a bit of a psychological issue with his ankles, didn't he? Thinking was going to go over on them. So maybe that's why we're watering it that much that there's no chance of him going over on a hard patch of grass. But
nice soft lap for him.
Yeah, I thought I was very, very impressed, and he's my man of the match.
So, a few listeners coming in saying Shaz Harvey said Stewart. Steve said Stewart, followed by Kenny. Cliff Smith, Stewart. Steve, agree with Tim. Regaz. You don't actually say one though, Steve, do you? Come on, go off the fence. Richard Unsall, Medine. Fraser, Medine. It's
great that there's three. Never mind just three. There's probably 4 or 5 decent shouts in there, which is great to be able to say, isn't it?
I believe in corporate, which John, you hadn't actually mentioned you'd been up in corporate at any point.
I've not mentioned that.
So far. No, but I believe that Gaz actually said he wasn't man of the match when he got presented with it. He said he didn't deserve it. Is that right?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. Then the first thing he said was he swore. That's pretty much the first thing he said. He said, "Oh gosh," and then he said, "Shit, there's 20 kids in here." So that was even funnier. I can't actually remember Mitch. I was quite bladdered myself at the time. Yeah. So
now apparently he did say he didn't think he was. Somebody come in and said that. Adam wasn't actually in the room, but it was mentioned that they'd passed that comment. And I think, listen, he played well. I'm not suggesting he didn't. I just think there's a couple of players maybe ahead of him personally, and he has played better. And we've said it when he has as well how good he's been. So.
Okay, so we've got a few other pieces of news that we just want to briefly touch on before we head off. The first one relating to the Reading game, which I know someone said, David Coleman said, booing Tom Ince, I didn't get it. Or some chanting aimed at him and his father with an industrial component, shall we say. I was laughing at the time, but then in hindsight, I thought that's actually a bit tight, really. It's
he was a good player. He was a good player for us, wasn't he? And he was fine until his dad became manager and ruined him.
I think most of it was to rattle Paul, because we all know that Thomas is the epicenter of the universe. I'm surprised he wasn't on throw-ins, free kicks, corners, running the warm-up at the beginning of the game, taking kick-off, taking the goal kicks. Probably washing the kit. Oh, sorry, he stopped doing that now. He's left Blackpool, obviously. Yeah.
But it's like those youth football matches, isn't it? Where the dad I was always really harsh on Sam. There's no doubt he was on before. I don't know whether he's still listening. But I was always harsh with my kid when he played football for me. Where there's some managers like their kid, the kid literally would do that, and Paul Ince reminds me very much of that type of mindset where his only focus is his child, and as a manager, it can't be like that. You've got to think about the team, not an individual. And I can't believe the reason he's ended up being manager is because he's been sat up in that director's box, hasn't he, whispering in the ear of the owner, and which he did at Blackpool, and ends up with the job. But it's not going to do his son any favours, and it didn't do his any favours last time, and it won't do him any favours this time.
And so are you. Anyway, it's Neil Critchley's anniversary, 2 years in charge. I've written 3 best games, 3 worst games, areas for improvement in the notes. A bit boring if we just list those out. Let's start with areas for improvement. Obviously, we're all extremely happy and satisfied with Critchley. I think we've waxed lyrical enough about him. So, how do you think we can improve under Neil Critchley, or how can he improve? Mitch, let's come to you first.
It could move on from the body warmer look. That would be a start, because I think it gives him a certain.
I quite like that. I like it. I like that style. I was actually on the official club website looking at them just before we came up. Oh,
get the club gilet.
Shall I get one?
When did they become gilets? When was that a thing? Because there was body warmers in like the 80s. You put your body warmer on, it's gold, and then now there's gilets. What's that? Serious answer.
This is a good one from David. Too slow at bringing on the subs.
Yeah, I was going to. That was actually going to be my serious answer. Would be the sometimes just taking a grip of a game tactically and doing something radical when it's not working. I think it's really telling that a game where he's kind of the Fulham game where we got a really good result and he had that long, very unfortunate stoppage, but then that sort of that was a game we were losing control of, and we got control after that long stoppage. He just seems to take quite a long time to work out those tactical changes.
Yes.
Can I have 2? Can I have 2, by the way? I'm allowed 2 choices.
What, 2 gilets?
No, 2 choices when it comes to...
Timmy 2 gilets.
Timmy 2 points.
Go on, then. Where you go?
My 2 points are, one is, I think... he circulates players too much when they're in form, and I think he needs to think about that. Personally, I think there's a couple of players who I think have had to take a step out when actually I don't think it's done us any favours them doing it. Now
particularly Tim.
Gabriel just stands out as the one who is rested far too much for a young player. For me, particularly, and I think we've unbalanced the team sometimes. Now, there might be reasons. Maybe he's carrying a bit of a knock and he wants to give him a rest, but I don't think it's that. I think there just seems to be a couple of players who always seem to
be
the ones who step out.
Carrying a knock, Gabriel.
Yeah. And
what's that, Joe? What was that?
Gabriel, he is carrying a knock now. Got injured, didn't he?
Oh, he did, yeah.
Oh, I did, yeah. Yeah. But I think he's stepped out of the team when he shouldn't have done, personally. And do you know, I've actually forgotten what the second one was.
Yeah, I'll let Cliff's made a good point there. Show more bravery and trust our players. Joe, stop worrying too much about the opposition. I think that's something we have touched on here in the past. Play our system and impose it on them rather than worry about.
Actually, that was my point. That was my point, and I just couldn't think of it on the spur of the moment. But yeah, it's about think about us rather than them.
I agree with Cliff to a certain extent, but then you're saying to trust the players. Away at QPR, they were lumping it forward to 5'0" Lavery. So, I don't want to have that stereotype that footballers aren't the brightest, but come on. If you were playing Beasley up front on his own, fair enough. But the fact that we've got 2 in-form wingers in the form of Bowler and CJ, and whenever we got the ball, our main aim on that game seemed to be, let's lump it forward to the shortest player we've got on the pitch. I think football and intelligence doesn't really go hand in hand sometimes. But the bravery point, that's a very, very good point and a bit of a bugbear with me. I thought we were far too respectful the way we set up against Fulham. In the beginning of that game, I can understand it because obviously they were scoring goals left, right, and centre when we were playing them. So fair enough on that one. QPR, they were in poor form when we went there. They weren't playing very well. If we'd have played 4-4-2 and got on them from the very beginning, who knows how the game would have got. Instead, we invited them on and we conceded a very Blackpool goal to concede, i.e., just vibes marking at corners. And
I tell you, we missed Joe. We missed Medine in all reality, because I tell you what, and our defensive setup from corners, he's probably the most important player, because a number of times
he's the most important defender and the most important attacker. You see, he's
what's the saying? More than just a goal machine.
Absolutely.
And the number of times he's the one who actually clears the lines from a corner, it's incredible. And I think I remember him doing it at least 2 or 3 times on Saturday. And we do, particularly when you haven't got someone like Keogh in there. I think we do miss him. So.
Okay, so those were things we think he can improve on. What are we happy with for Critchley in his tenure, Mitch? Put you on the spot a bit. Is there anything you particularly enjoy about Critch? The celebrations when they win are one of my favourite things.
Absolutely, but I'm gonna actually go for his calmness, because he doesn't get too up, he doesn't get too down. You get the feeling out of sort of a lot of managers that they, sort of the coach type theoretical managers. You get the feeling that they are on the verge of burnout. They're moody. Pep, you just sometimes want to give him a slap, because he just never looks happy about anything, and he looks like he's going to have a breakdown half the time. Obviously, we've just seen Bielsa go at Leeds. I know he's not young, but he's kind of the sort of hipster manager and all of that. We've just seen him go at Leeds, and it's obvious that he can't maintain the intensity over a long period of time. You look at his career, but with Critchley, you just get the feeling that he doesn't get too up when we win. He enjoys it when we win, and when we lose, he doesn't get too down. He's fed up, it hurts, but he doesn't get too down, and he just feels like it's sustainable. You sort of, if somebody said, "Well, Critchley's still manager of Blackpool in 4 years," you would feel like that was possible. Where there are managers that we've had in the past, where you think they've got a shelf life. I mean, Ollie and Steve McMahon, to some extent, are 2 managers that you would think of as being quite combustible and not really being able to do it for that long for their own mental health. Whereas Critch just feels like he trusts the process, and he trusts the process, and he has a process. So that's what I'm going to go for with him.
Tim, anything to add?
Yeah, which I think you touched upon, connection with the fans. I think he's the manager who's probably got the best connection with the fan base that we've had since Billy Eyre, and I think it's only fair to take one of the comments out of the from the viewers, in that his eye for a player. I mean, whether it's him or whether it's part of his coaching staff, it doesn't really matter. But to pluck some of the players he has from relative obscurity and watch them perform on what is a very, very competitive stage is fantastic to watch. And it's the way that it's the model we should work to. The care is he's I don't know how much he's coaching with Keshi, but either way, he knew that he could add something value-wise. I remember Brett Geraghty telling me that the first players he wanted were Keshi and Ekpiteta and Yates, and he knew, and they've all, along with lots of others. We've seen Lavery come in this year. He's
Bowler as well. Look how Bowler has developed
massively, and that's why that's one of the reasons why Bowler's probably, we never get to the bottom of whether we accept an offer or whether we didn't accept an offer. But I can imagine Bowler wanting to stay, because it's almost like going to university, isn't it, or working very closely with somebody who's fantastic craftsman. The time you spend with them will define your career and where you go and what education. He's going through his education stage. He's 22 years old, and he's working with somebody who's massively improved him as a player, and no doubt will carry on improving him as a player. And every credit to Josh, and every credit to Critch and his team for making that happen. So what are you laughing at there? I was too busy talking to follow what was going on.
I was just zoning out, Tim. You were going on to monologue. Was
that boring, everybody? But no, in all seriousness, I think his eye for a player is fantastic.
I'm only joking, Tim. I was just laughing at Phil Hornby's comment there. The best thing about Critch is we are just stuck with him.
That's quality, that.
Right, just before we go, big up the youth team for what they did against Chelsea. Fantastic achievement, given, as John Murphy said in his speech up in corporate hospitality. I might not have mentioned, but that's where I was at the game. Merv's mentioned that he said one day, he said given the lack of the training ground and the facilities available to the team, he said one day to take a session, he had to phone around about 5 different establishments to try and get them a pitch to play on. And he says he's dreaming for the day when they can all be in one changing room and they just walk out and train on a pitch outside. He says they couldn't go to Squaresgate, they couldn't go to Stanley Park, they couldn't go to one of the schools, they were all booked up. He said an under-10s girls team took preference over them training at Stanley Park on the 4G, and they ended up at Myerscough. So given the facilities that they've got, obviously we are working towards better ones. The fact that they've taken Chelsea to the wire, what they Cat A academy, awash with Russian money, which is quite topical at the moment, and we've taken them right to the wire, haven't we, Tim? Fantastic performance.
Yeah, and it is. It's fantastic to see, and it's, you know, it must in some ways be very, very frustrating when you look around at what others have got. Sam was down at Chelsea and he was just raving about the place, you know, it's all the facilities they have and whatever. And also Chelsea farm players, don't they? So they've got a huge catchment of these players because they're all around the world with their academies and development squads, and then they bring the best in. And so they literally, probably in this country, I would have thought Chelsea and maybe Arsenal up there as the two clubs who really do get some serious players in at that age. So it's a fantastic achievement and a great testament to all the hard work that goes in behind the scenes in what are still, you know, relatively trying and rather basic facilities. So roll on the new training ground whenever that announcement's going to come. It surely can't be too long now.
The accounts have been released today. I think we're over an hour, so we won't go into them in any great detail. We will perhaps do them on another podcast, but the standout figure was the deficit. What was it?
4.8 million, I think it was the loss. I've got it up here, John. Your operating loss, 4.8 million, 4,835,840 quid.
And it was 2.2 the year before, wasn't it? What we've got to remember, what we've got to bear in mind is this is the year we get promoted from League One, because it's the accounts. I think we actually changed the year end and put it back by a couple of months, but whenever they've changed it back up. But normally, traditionally, we do to the 31st of May. And obviously, there's a distinct lack of income. And you look through the accounts. I think Matt Scrafton's done a bit of an analysis on them, and obviously, like, it's even things like your refreshments, isn't it? Which normally we do 300,000 is down to like a pittance. Match day income's down to a pittance. Probably one of the most encouraging things was how many people left the money in, which obviously plugged a bit of a hole. But there
was a big figure what piqued my interest, Mitch. I don't know if you've got the figures in front of you. The iFollow information revenue. It was quite a lot more than I thought. I think it was about 600 grand.
Yeah, it was up from about 40,000 to about 600 grand. I'm just looking for it in the document now. I think it was about 587,000. It was
when I saw that, I was like, wow, you know, it was only a tenner, wasn't it, to watch an iFollow? So it's a fair old chunk of change. But we'll go through these in a bit more finer detail, I think, on another pod. We're on an hour and 10, so we'll call it an evening. If you're watching this on YouTube, please do like and subscribe to the show. Click the notification bell. Helps us grow. It means you get notified when we're releasing new shows. So, right, everybody, thanks for joining us this evening. Guys, thanks for everybody in the comments. All that remains to be said. Thanks for watching. Thanks for downloading. Up. The pool.
The pool.